the new standard in performance and safety. At $35,490 fully equipped and 7-year warranty, the all-new MG HS is value you've never seen before.
Toddy Blanch, big thank you, mate, for joining me on Gibbo Goes One, driven by MG. I know you just got to Perth. We'll get to how you got there in a minute, but talk to me about the 2-week quarantine. We've had to do it here in Melbourne, that locked-in house situation, but you obviously just got to Perth. Tell me what have you been doing in the 2 weeks locked inside?
We actually had a nice little routine. We sort of just got up in the morning, coffee, worked out, a lot of Netflix. I got, as much as I hate to admit it, I got destroyed in Monopoly, which wasn't fun. But yeah, bit of a few video games, a lot of Netflix. Yeah, we had a nice routine, dinner. It was good. Caught up a lot on Netflix though.
There's I've fair to say I've gone through almost every show on Netflix. I know the Wildcats dropped you. I had some gear for you to use. I think a bike and stuff. What did they have ready for you at the hotel or the place you stayed at?
Yes, we had an Airbnb in Fremantle, which was good because we got the dog, so we didn't want to have him locked inside with us for two weeks. So we had a little bit of an outside area, which was nice. But yeah, the Wildcats were unbelievable. They gave me the exercise bike, some bands, few mats, rollers, a few dumbbells. So it was really able to put a few good circuits together, and we're able to get it done for 2 weeks.
Now, it's been documented, but I want you to tell me about your trip from Mackay, your hometown in Mackay, to Perth. I know it's quite a mission, and I've got the details written down, but I want to hear from you kind of how was it kind of driving that whole way, basically, I think 25 days from start to finish to get into Perth.
I mean, it was actually really good, and I don't know, in saying that, I don't know if I'd do it again, but but to say I've done it is cool. Like, there was one part that stands out to me was when we crossed the Northern Territory border into South Australia, there was Google Maps told us to turn right off the highway because it, took 2.5 hours off the trip. So we decided to take a right, and we ended up spending 4 hours on this 4-wheel drive track. We saw 3 cars in 4 hours. Like, I had jerry cans on the camper trailer because the fuel station's in the middle of nowhere. I don't know how they would pump fuel out there.
Yeah.
But, it was. I saw stuff that you'd see in the movies. Like, we had emus run beside the car, 3 emus run beside the car. We had to stop for sheep, cows, wombats, echidnas. We had to stop for everything. We crossed through about 20 different creeks. It was really cool.
What did you guys do? So it took 25 days, right? Was it every night you stopped and you slept somewhere? You camped? Like, how did it all work from those 3 and a bit weeks? Yeah, so I think with those 25 days, I think they counted the quarantine in those 25 days. We did it in 8 days. Okay, well, let's not let the truth get in the way of a good story. 100%. Get rid of that. But basically, you left Mackay, right? With Jess, your girlfriend, and your dog. I'm assuming having a dog in the car must have been pretty tough as well, trying to keep him entertained or whatever. But 3 borders, 1,400 kilometres. You went west to NT, 800 kilometres southwest to Alice Springs, 1,200 kilometres through NT to the SA coastline, 1,900 kilometres to WA is roughly the trip you took. Yeah, it was cool. I actually really enjoyed it. Like, going through. First of all, we went to Mackay inland. We eventually got to Camberwell, which is on the border of Northern Territory and Queensland. I think it's only got about 200 people population. So, service was limited out there. I think I had 1 bar of 3G to even sort of just to check in with mum and dad and just to, make sure that everything's all right. We're still tracking all right. And then, we then crossed into Northern Territory, got to the 3-way roadhouse, which was, I think it's quite famous in Northern Territory. I think it's the middle of Alice Springs and Darwin. It's on that highway. Yep. Turned left there, went down to Alice Springs, stayed the night in Alice Springs, and then trekked down to Ceduna, which is on the coast in South Australia. And then, eventually just made our way along the coast, crossed, saw the Great Australian Bight, which was unbelievable. The whale watching there was, you're only 50, 70 metres away from the whales, which was really cool to see. And then crossed the Nullarbor, which was another thing that I've always wanted to do, is really see that outback Australia. And then, into WA, and eventually we got there. It was a little bit of a mission to, I suppose, the WA border, because they are so strict here with obviously what's happening in the world right now. But
not only that, with the food, like the produce, we had to have our car and camper search for that as well. So that was about a 45-minute to an hour ordeal there as well at the border.
Yeah.
But, obviously they're doing their jobs, and they're obviously, everything's smooth sailing over here, and you've got to respect that. So, a lot of fun along the trip, and finally got into Perth and got a Airbnb in Fremantle, which we were there for 2 weeks.
Obviously not a great situation to have to drive that far, but like you said, something you probably remember because you've been able to see all these sites in Australia that you probably wouldn't normally be able to do or be able to see. You probably wouldn't drive these tracks and see all this stuff. As basketball, I don't know how much you've been doing before you left Mackay working out wise, but you said you were pretty happy to make your first shot and get out on the practice court and train for a bit. How was that first day with the Wildcats?
It was actually really good. It was obviously being in a car for a week and then being in quarantine for 2 weeks. We were a little bit limited of what we could do, but I was able to do a little bit of ball handling with some of the stuff they provided. But it was really good to be able to get on court and be able to get a few reps up and to see the ball go through the hoop again. I was scrimmaging a little bit with the QBL team in Mackay before we left twice a week, but it's just really cool to get in first day and see that ball go through the hoop again.
I know when I first came to the Phoenix, obviously new club, but just from the day one, my feel of the Phoenix here was just so professional. Like, so glad I made the move and the whole change. I noticed you said something about you're so happy you're in Perth now, just obviously been around there for a couple of days now. What has made that experience so good for you? Obviously the stuff they had provided at the Airbnb to work out, but what gives you that feel of I've made an unbelievable decision here?
I mean, just obviously, I agree with you 100%. Like, as you said, the professionalism here. This club's obviously very successful and have been for a very long time, and they've obviously know what works and what doesn't. So to come in, just little things like all your training gear's all ready to go. Everything's organised. You're not having to borrow things off different people, and just little things like that. I think that goes a long way. Everything's really organised. Like, get there, like screening first day. It's because technically we are in off season still. Like, it's not quite pre-season yet. So I'm glad I got here when I did to be able to make that, to be able to build up to pre-season, I suppose. Sort of everyone not really doing too much, and then sort of going into day one of pre-season would be tough. But just the professionalism of the guys over here. It's really easy to communicate with people. It's the setup they've got over here as well with the training court, weights, everything's all together. So you sort of park your car and that's it. You're not lifting weights, driving 20 minutes to train, and I think that's a big thing as well.
Perfect recipe for success. That's probably why they've done so well for so many years. You must be pretty excited as well to play with Nordo again. Clint Steindl, some guys that you've been around before, obviously played against a lot, but played with in junior Aussie teams and stuff like that. To mix with them again must be pretty exciting, and maybe a part of your decision to go to Perth. Yeah,
definitely. I was speaking a lot to Nordo, I suppose, prior to actually signing in Perth, and just sort of talking to him as a mate, I suppose, just to see what it is like, And he had nothing really but good things to say about it. And obviously knowing I'd spent 2 years in Melbourne with Majuk as well, so I knew him quite well, and been on a Boomers tour to China with Jesse Wagstaff as well. So coming in knowing majority of the guys made that transition a lot easier, especially day one. Sort of just smooth sailing, really. It was good.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you grew up in Mackay, Mackay boy. I think it's awesome. You've played there in the off season. You do like to play a lot. You played for Council Heat, whatever. But going back to playing your hometown must be a lot of fun. Obviously, being a young kid from there, but going away, playing out of that town, but then going back and playing must be something you really enjoy because you seem to do it a fair bit.
For sure. I sort of like to do it whenever I can. I know it's sort of something about that stadium. I spent so much time there as a junior and learned so much in that place, and sort of be able to see. I sort of walk in, you can see your banner on the wall, and you see the younger kids looking up to that, and they sort of come up and say hi, and a lot of people wanting to do some individuals and that sort of stuff as well. I think that's really cool. I really like that sort of stuff. So any chance I sort of get to, suppose, get back there and play and sort of give back to a place that sort of helped me so much is always good.
I think that's unreal. Now, you went to the AAS like a lot of us. You chose to skip college and go straight to the Townsville Crocs. Why was college an option? You wanted to stay in Australia. I know for myself, I just preferred to kind of stay in Australia and play professionally. But was college an option, or why did you choose to stay and play NBL?
I suppose at that time, it was when I was at the Institute. I was at the RAS for the under-19 Worlds, and like there was with a lot of the other guys all those other guys took. There was two of us that didn't take the college route. There was myself and another guy called Dwayne Radcliffe. But I suppose it just didn't really appeal to me. I was, prior to going into the Institute, I was always at school. I was doing woodwork, metalwork. I was doing a school-based building apprenticeship, and I don't know, that stuff just seemed a lot more appealing to me. And it was actually Trevor Gleeson, who's coaching here at the moment, who actually gave me the opportunity and said, "Look, we'd like to bring you up to Townsville and as a DP and sort of see what you got, and we'll go from there." It's sort of been up when I'd come home in holidays from the Institute. I'd go to Townsville and train for a week and just sort of see what it was all about. But yeah, he was able to, when I finished there, he gave me a call and sort of said, "Would you like to come up here and have a crack and take a development spot?" And I sort of, at the time, I was only 17. I couldn't really picture living in the States by myself. I needed to do it. I hadn't done all the subjects at the time. I hadn't done any of them at all. So yeah, it was just it was something that I wasn't real keen on, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the path I chose in the end, I suppose.
Sounds very similar to me. I know at Lake Ginninderra, all I did was woodwork and sport class.
Literally all I did. My maths and woodwork teacher was a volunteer firefighter at Lake G. So some days we'd get to class and there'd just be a sign on the door that he'd been called for a job. We'd just go back call up Mick, and he'd take us back to the Institute.
You didn't have to fake any, I've got to get back for physio, I've got to get back for an individual. You didn't have to pull in. Talk to me about, obviously you went to Townsville, your first moments in Townsville. I read something about, obviously Russell Hinder was there. I think Brad Williamson. I'm not sure if Pete Crawford was there.
Yeah, he was there. He was there my first year. He was there.
Talk to me about your first kind of experience with an NBL team and being around that environment.
Very, very nervous. 17-year-old kid. Looked, no one knew my name. No one really knew anything. I was coming in blind, I suppose. But those guys were. That's where I suppose the nickname Vinny comes from. No one knew my name, but I remember going there. I just came off I was playing QBL for Mackay, and I just came off a pretty good season, I thought. And I remember getting there and it was just still so nervous. I thought I was going to go in there with a little bit of confidence, but I just wasn't. You have all these guys that are, it's like you said, Russell Hinder, Peter Crawford, Brad Williamson, Homicide was there, import that year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was, but a lot of those guys were really good. Like I came really close with PC and Russ Hinder. They were two guys that really, I suppose, took me under their wing, especially PC sort of took me on that side and especially just showed me the ropes and showed me really the recovery side, just all what it took to be a professional, I suppose. And I'm really grateful for that. He's always first one there, last one to leave. I know PC can talk, as you know, but it was always, he'd always did his recovery. He always got his extra shots. And that was something I'm grateful that I learned from early on, I suppose.
You probably couldn't. I had a little bit to do with Russ Hinder with some Australian team stuff and obviously play with PC. We lived together in Adelaide, but you're right, as far as someone that's similar game, like knockdown shooters, athletes in the wing position, but someone that's got the absolute most out of his career, was an Olympian. To learn from him as such a young kid at such a young age must have been, like you said, probably a lot of fun and probably helped your game a lot, just doing the little things for recovery, all the extra work that Pete used to do. I was impressed, kind of living with him and being around him at the end of his career.
Yeah, for sure. And, that's someone that he said, but I suppose the thing for me that was pretty cool about it was he sort of came to me and sort of said, "Come on, let's do this." Like sort of took me under his wing. I didn't really have to just follow him along and, this is how you do it. And eventually he just, worked out I was there. He sort of came to me and was like, "Come on, we're shooting today." Or, "Come on, we've got ice baths, or we got, we've recovery to do." And yeah, it was really cool. And he was sort of in the prime of his career, I suppose. I think he was about 30 at that time, 30 or 31. And so he was playing well. And yeah, I sort of really couldn't have asked for a better guy to learn off, as you said.
Do you miss I miss going to Townsville. That was one of the better places to go and play. That that arena was so much fun to go and play, and the atmosphere was awesome. Yeah. Staying at the casino, the whole trip up there was a lot of fun. Probably one of the best buffets you could have as a visiting in the league. But It must have been pretty disappointing when they, obviously went out of the league and didn't have a team anymore.
Yeah, it was definitely, it was very disappointing. I remember the year, but my second last year before I left, I remember getting Pat Reedy was the stand-in GM at the time, and I remember getting the call like maybe a month after the season. They said they were going to fold, and it was I suppose again a club that really was able to help me out and give me confidence, and I suppose give me the opportunity as well to play in the NBL and try to make something of it. It was pretty sad to see it go under. I know after that they did have one more year. That's when they moved to RSL Stadium, but it was actually quite sad to see them go under. To, as you said, it's a great place to live and it's a great place to play.
And then obviously, you signed with United. Were there other teams that you could have potentially gone to instead of United? Obviously, I'll get to your playing time there, but to move to one of the biggest, clubs in the NBL, supported by Larry and his team and whatever. But did you have other opportunities to pick and choose where you wanted to go in that contract year?
Yeah, I mean, I had the option to stay at Townsville. I could have went to Perth was another one at that time.
Yeah,
I think it was when Trev first got to Perth. That was when he first started. But yeah, I don't know. At the time, I thought Melbourne was going to be the best fit. Don't get me wrong. I loved my time in Melbourne. I definitely was able to develop and learn as a player. And I guess going in, I thought my role may have been a little different. But that happens. Yeah, that's professional sport. But at the same time, I was able. My first year there, we were able to make the playoffs. We had a really good regular season and made the playoffs. We obviously lost to New Zealand in the semi-finals, which sucked. But yeah, I suppose it was really my first taste of finals where I actually played. We made finals in Townsville with Trev, and it was cool. But I was sort of that 9th, 10th, maybe sometime the 11th guy, and I really didn't see the floor. I was watching a lot more than I was playing. But with Melbourne, I was obviously playing a lot more than I was watching. It was my real first taste of finals basketball, and as a whole, I thought it really helped me, on and off the court. It was really the first time I was probably really relied upon night in, night out to be able to play. Because if we didn't, you wouldn't get results. So that definitely helped me, and I'm definitely grateful for it.
It must have been nice to come in your first game. I think you had a career high for yourself with 29 points. That must have been.
That was in Townsville.
that must have been a pretty good feeling. One, to play against your old team, which sometimes can be a little bit nervous, whatever. However, that transition goes on, but to I guess, let your new team know that, it was worth getting me in, and to have a career high your first game, that must have been pretty special.
Yeah, for sure. It was just, I just remember it was one of those nights. I remember talking with Mirko Vjedic after the game, and the last shot that I actually banked a 3 right in front of their bench. And it was just, you've been there, you've had one of those nights where it just seems everything just goes in. But that was really cool. And I suppose that's, as much as it sucks that I was playing for Melbourne, it's definitely a highlight that I did have in Townsville.
Yeah, for sure. And then you're obviously there for a couple of years. That I can't remember if I talked to Bubbles about this, but you guys were, I think you're minor premiers. Guys were rolling. I think you played New Zealand the last maybe 2 games of the season, and you chose as a team not to take most of you guys, I think, over to New Zealand. And for me watching on, it's such a hard decision. Do you take your players, risk injury? Do you not? Whatever. I felt the momentum really turned for New Zealand because you end up playing them, I think, like 6 games in a row or something stupid like that, 5 games in a row. Do you think that decision not to take your main team over there to play a proper game kind of may have affected and given them more, I guess, momentum heading into that semi-final series?
I think so. I think I definitely, I definitely thought that at the time. It was, I suppose, it just felt like we just, as you said, they just had the momentum. If it's when you're so used to playing week in, week out, you get into a groove, you start feeling good. I suppose when guys have 2 weeks off, they sort of, there's a big difference between playing and training. Sometimes you just can't replicate what it's like. And I sort of definitely think it, especially traveling to New Zealand, gave them a lot of confidence. They had a big win. And, they obviously came back here full of confidence. And, that New Zealand team at the time, that's when they were in their prime. They were winning championships. I think they won 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 or something. So they were very familiar with finals basketball and knew what it took to get wins. And I think we might have slipped up on that one and definitely gave them the mental edge.
From United, you went to Sydney. I think you're there for 1 year. How was your time in Sydney? I know it was obviously cut short. You chose to move on again from there, but living in Sydney, big city again. Obviously probably a great setup or whatever. But how was your time in Sydney for that 1 year?
Yeah, it was good. It was. I guess it was, in a way, it was a little bit different again to the way Melbourne is. Like, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. I didn't really know what to expect coming in. Again, with my, I thought I was going to have a little bit of a different role going in there. I was playing the 4 spot a lot, which is a little bit out of my position. So I really haven't trained in, wrestle with guys like Nick Kay for 35 minutes. But yeah, no, for the most part, it was really good and really grateful for the opportunity. Playing under Drewy and Copes, it was a lot of fun. It was a very entertaining day in, day out. But we didn't really get the results we wanted to. But for the most part, it was a lot of fun.
You did. I was going to ask you about playing the 4 spot. Obviously, playing a wing spot. Basically your whole career, your whole life, and then playing some 4 spot. Like, I appreciate playing the 4 spot. I wish I was like a little bit taller because it suits more my game. I'm happy to bang people and wrestle, and I just wish I wasn't 6'2", I was 6'5". But that must have been kind of tough getting used to that style. Obviously, playing defense, like you said, against the bigger guys and probably wearing yourself down a little bit, like not being used to it. So that must have been a tough adjustment, I guess, going to that position.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose when you kind of train to chase guys on the wing, and rather than wrestling guys under the hoop, it definitely takes it out of you. And I think, I suppose, expending so much energy on the defensive end, I think my offensive end sort of lacked a little bit because I was so tired.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I had to make the adjustment. That's what we do as professionals, and I had a lot of fun. We had a really good group of guys, and I think in the end, we started to make it work towards the end. We were able to start racking up a few more wins. We started switching a lot more stuff, and we did start to work it out. It was just a little too late.
And then, obviously, from Sydney, you chose to go to the Hawks, which I think was a really good move. Obviously, Sydney were loading up. A lot of players. Probably would have been hard to find some court time at times and whatever, and maybe not knowing your role. But going to the Hawks, obviously one of the main guys. Like, how was your year? How are your 2 years there? Obviously, the last year was a bit of a show and whatever. But being in Wollongong again, probably a small town like Mackay. I think you tried surfing, but I don't think you do surf. But just being in Wollongong and playing there for the 2 years.
Oh, I love Wollongong. I love the small places. 5 minutes to everything. The community really, really backed that team. They you can't walk into any shopping mall without someone recognizing who you are, and especially the younger kids that come to all the games. They're members, and I get a real kick out of when kids like that come up and say g'day and have a bit of a chat. And that place it's definitely a place. It's probably been my most enjoyable years of basketball so far, as probably on the court, and I'm again forever grateful for that. And when I was able to get in contact with Bevo and Bruce, my agent, to know it was an option, it was definitely a very tough decision to be able to, I suppose, end that contract in Sydney and start a new one in Wollongong. But I'm definitely grateful for, I guess, making that decision, and the way it did pan out was, I guess, in my favour.
Well, like you said, definitely more success. I think you're MVP both years for your club. Your numbers are obviously better. Is that where you met your girl? You met your girl?
Oh, she's from Mackay as well. I met her in the off season before I went there.
I've got some wrong intel.
She's from Mackay as well.
I've got someone gave me some bad information on that, thanks to the NBL. But tell me about, I've talked to Emmett. Who else did I interview? I talked to Sunday about, Mello. Obviously, that was a bit of a show, whatever, but more reports, good kid, like works hard, probably going to be number 1 pick. I talked to Timmy Conrad when we played you guys in pre-season. He was a bit mad that everyone was lining up for Mello's signature and he was off to the side, like just on his phone or something. Like, how was that whole thing and that whole kind of experience?
Yeah, it was definitely, I suppose, eye-opening, especially whenever we travelled on the road, especially to the big cities, like Perth, Melbourne, Sydney. Just the amount of media, and like we were in for a pre-season tournament, we did Ballarat. It was outback Victoria pretty much, and we stopped at this random, I think it was McDonald's on the way home, well, I can't remember where it was. It's like a service station. We had to fuel up, and he walked inside to get a drink, and these 3 kids came up to him, and I've never even heard of the place in my life. And they're like, "Oh, Mello, can we get a photo? Can we get a photo?" Like, that was, to me, was like, gosh, this guy is, like, he's a rock star.
Yeah.
At 19 years old, whether he's 18 years old, he's a rock star. But, yeah, again, like, he's, you know, one of the first guys at training. He always plays one-on-one after training. You know, has a lot of good banter, and it's a lot of fun to be around. He's a lot of energy.
Yeah.
A lot of energy, but, yeah, a lot of fun at the same time.
Do you think that playing one-on-one, I don't feel like we do that well in Australia. I don't know what your teams have been like, but just playing one-on-one after practice, just, you know, a couple of dribbles. Like, I feel like that's what we need to get better at in Australia, is that one-on-one game. And obviously he's done that, and that's the NBA style. But I feel like that's something we could improve in Australian basketball, the one-on-one skill too, because at the end of the day, the game breaks down to a one-on-one game.
For sure. And I think that's how you really, you most improve. That's how you put in a game situation. You know, you practice your moves that you would normally do in a game, and you're able to, but it's fun at the same time. You know, you have a bit of a laugh, you talk a bit of smack to each other, and, you know, you get better. So that sort of stuff that's why I love doing that after training if we can.
Yeah. Now, I mentioned before in the off season, so I think obviously Mackay, you played a bunch with the Meteors. I think you won there as well. Townsville Heat you play with. Southland Sharks, you like to go to New Zealand. I mean, I played my 1 game against you in New Zealand, but you like to do that in the off season just to keep playing. Some guys like to just go overseas or kind of take time off, but you seem to like to keep playing, in whether it's in these smaller towns or wherever, like just to keep active and keep playing games.
Yeah, I mean, I especially like to do it while I can. You know, I'm only 28 at the moment, and, you know, when I get to, you know, as guys say, get a little bit older, it's a little harder to back up, then I suppose that's when I look to take time off. But, you know, while my body can still cope with playing back-to-back seasons, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a chance to earn a bit more money and continue to improve as a player. So, and again, at the same time, if you're in New Zealand, you get to see another country. So, you know, a lot of guys obviously go overseas as well and play in Europe, but I haven't been able to get there. But, you know, New Zealand's, I love that place. The people there are really good. It's a really nice country, and, you know, it's a good competition. So I definitely love going there.
I was about to say the league, like, seems like I only played that 1 game, but the league seems tough as well, and it's so short. So to go over to New Zealand, earn some money for 3 months, see a bit of a different country is definitely well worth it. You've also you've been part of some Aussie teams, some junior Aussie teams. Actually won a few medals for junior Aussie teams on Albert Schweitzer, the William Jones Cup, Uni Games. That Uni Games must have been a lot of fun. I've been told it's like a mini Olympics, kind of that whole vibe. That must have been a lot of fun to be a part of. Yeah, that was really cool. It was it's, as you said, it's literally just a mini Olympics. You know, I feel like that's what people say anyway. There's all the dorms, and everyone's divided up in, I suppose, into your countries, and, you know, there's a village, there's a food hall. You know, it's really cool. But I remember playing in that gold medal game it was in Russia, and we were playing against Russia in the gold medal game, and I think there was, you know, 16,000 people there, and, you know, being only a teenager still that was really my first taste of international basketball of that caliber of, you know, that crowd. It's actually quite intimidating, especially as a teenager. I bet you can't wait to play in front of the Red Army, 13,000 people going for you for once instead of booing you every time you touch the ball.
For sure.
You also anytime you get to represent your country at the senior level for the Boomers is obviously a pretty special time. And you obviously were a part of the FIBA Asia Cup kind of group. That must have been pretty cool to be a part of that group at the senior level, not just as a junior Aussie representative. Yeah,
definitely. And it's, you know, it's special the way they do it, how, you know, when it's your first, you know, major tournament, they present you with your singlet in front of the team, and, you know, it comes from, you know, a past Boomer that's, you know, had a lot of success, and, you know, that's special to be able to, you know, receive that singlet and to know that it is with you. And it's, anytime you get to put the green and gold on is a special feeling, and it's something I'll never take for granted.
Who presented you with your singlet?
I got presented with Luke Longley.
Oh, nice.
He presented mine. Was at I can't remember where it was now. But he presented mine.
That must have been cool to have, obviously, not just an Australian legend of basketball, but, you know, obviously the Bulls and all that obviously is a big part of Australian basketball, but a legend of the game as well to present, I guess, your singlet.
Yeah, for sure. And, yeah, I think about it, I was in Lebanon when we won the gold medal over there. So it was pretty cool to be able to win the tournament as well. But yeah, as you said, it was definitely cool to be able to receive the singlet from Luke Longley.
Now, you mentioned before you got your nickname. Before you had the nickname, did you used to watch Entourage or not?
Nah, never seen it.
Have you watched it since?
Yeah, I've watched it since.
Okay, because it's one of my favourite shows. But that's where Vinny came from, right? So you had the kind of hair, like actor, model-looking hair that Vinny Chase obviously had. You obviously would have had no idea when they started calling you that to start with?
Nah, I mean, that was my first question when it was actually Russ Hinder that started. Our first day I walked into training and he said, "Hey, it's Vinny." And I was like, "Oh, I'm not sure." It was like the TV series at the time. They were all watching it. I was unsure what it was, but obviously since then I've watched it. But yeah, it just stuck with me my whole time in Townsville, and even here in Perth now. You know, Trev, Nordo, Clint, everyone has continued. If Vinny comes back, this is going to be the place.
Well, I feel like it needs to. Like that should stay with you now forever. Like because I've seen photos of you with bit bushy kind of hair and whatever.
Yeah.
Definitely resembles Vinny Chase, no question. And I would be happy if I were you to have that nickname.
Yeah, well, I'm definitely not upset about it. But I remember walking in Townsville, and we do promos at different places, and if someone called me by Todd, it would be weird.
Yeah, well,
that's how common it got.
Well, I hope they bring it back. Now, I know, like I said before, that I've seen you try to surf. I don't know if you actually do surf. Obviously, being in Wollongong is probably a good place to try and surf. But also, you've had jet skis and you don't mind the water. I'll get to fishing in a minute. But, jet skis and just being out in the water is something you kind of like to do?
Yeah, definitely. It's, I tried surfing, but, when you fall off so much, it's like the hardest part of doing a burpee, I suppose, after training. And I just got tired so quick, so I just gave up on it and, just decided to keep body surfing a little bit easier.
Now, I know you lived with Kadee back when you were playing with Sydney, and you were one of the first I know of that started gaming, and I don't know if Fortnite was the first game, but I understand that you may have been top 10 in some game. I'm not sure which game it was online.
It was a game called the Division. I was in the top 20. Back then it was a road. You killed people in the PvP area. I was in the top 20 in Australia.
Is that still something you do, like spend a bit of time playing games? Like I know a bunch of the guys I've talked to, Drimic, Kadee, so it was like all jump on and play Fortnite or whatever.
Yeah.
Cod, is that something you still like to do away from basketball?
Yeah, definitely. I like to do it in my downtime. If I'm, I obviously do like the ocean and going to the beach with the dog and fishing when I can. But, at night time, I'm a little bit of a night owl. I sort of don't go to bed till, that 10, 11 o'clock. And, Jess goes to bed, she starts work early. So she's usually in bed by 8 o'clock. So I've usually got a few hours I jump on and play. And, it's a lot of fun. I was doing a little bit of the streaming stuff for a while there when I was in Wollongong, and that was a lot of fun. But, yeah, I definitely enjoyed doing it in my downtime. But also, I guess, the competitive side of it as well. I guess that comes out in me, and I just want to keep getting better at it.
Yeah. Fishing seems to be something you love to do. You got a lot of photos on your page, like big fish. It's not just back of a boat on a jetty, like throwing out a line. It's tell me about how you fish, like, cause you like spearfish and like go underwater, and talk to me through the whole fishing kind of deal.
Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of spearfishing. I didn't do as much in Wollongong because I didn't really know the type of fish, the reef. It's a lot different to North Queensland. You can't just go at the Great Barrier Reef and shoot a Spanish mackerel or a coral trout.
Yeah.
I did it, especially in Townsville. I had a big reef boat. I used to go with a lot of my mates. Sometimes if we'd have days off, like a weekend off, on a rare occasion, we would go overnight. There was a few islands halfway out to the reef where we could camp. There's deserted islands. And, I love spearfishing, especially when you get out there and it's an absolute glassed out day. You got, 15 to 20 meters of visibility, and you can pick and choose what you want to shoot and what you want to eat. Yeah. There's no, but yeah, I love it. But I've just recently sold my dive gear because the sharks are a little big over here for me.
I was about to ask about the sharks. I think I've seen somewhere, like maybe a little sighting somewhere kind of close where you were in the water.
Yeah, I've definitely seen my fair share of sharks, especially when you dive in the deep water and you look for Spanish mackerel. But I've sold my dive gear and I've gone for just recently bought a fishing kayak. So I've gone to top of the water now. So got myself a fishing kayak that I'm going to get into.
I reckon the Wildcats would be pretty happy with that decision, just quietly.
Definitely.
I've got some questions. You've got to pick one or the other.
Gotcha.
You can either have a haircut or you can shave. You can only pick one.
Having a haircut.
And grow out the beard.
Growing a beard for sure.
Love it. TV or movies?
TV.
Now, I'm not sure what you've had before, but the Kobe 4 shoe or the Kobe 8? I think you're going to choose the Kobe 8 because you posted about it ages ago. But the Kobe 4 shoe or the Kobe 8?
I know I do remember the post that I'm talking about, but I think the Kobe 4s were some of my favourite shoes that I've ever worn. So I did have them. I had a black and gold pair back in the day, and I think I've actually, to be honest, still got them in the cupboard.
Mate, that's a fortune if you find them things.
Seriously.
They are legit like gold if you find them.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're a big NRL guy living in Queensland or not, but you can either watch an NBA game or an NRL game.
Probably depends. If it's finals of the NBA, I'll watch the finals. But the regular season, there's too many games, so I'll choose NRL.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask every guest this. MJ or LeBron?
MJ.
Love it. Gaming or fishing?
Oh, now you put me on the spot. Oh, I'm going to take fishing.
Get out there. Get out in the nature.
Get out there, yeah. I'm going to take fishing.
My last question. Rex Hunt or Trevor Gleeson? You can spend one day. With them.
Rex Hunt.
Oh, I love it. I can't wait to talk to Trev. Yeah. Mate, that's, I was trying to think of like fishermen, and obviously you can't go past Rex Hunt. And I would assume that having a day out with him would be a lot of fun as a fisherman.
Oh, absolutely.
Mate, that's all I had for you. Appreciate you taking some time. Yeah, obviously you've been locked in lockdown and must feel awesome to be out and about, and hopefully Melbourne can get to that point soon, mate. But yeah. I really appreciate it. Congrats on signing with Perth, and good luck with Perth. Not too much against us, but I think it's a great move, great club to be a part of, and I'm sure you guys will do really well.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Anytime, man. Anytime.